Storm's coming in. It's going to be a big one. I guess the only thing to do is use some power tools outside. All right, so what we got going today is we're going to cut open some big old Condor agates, as you see right here. These are abnormally big, about 3 to 4 inches in diameter each. You're not going to find a whole lot of these on eBay, but they're out there. Going to cut them open on this trusty 10-inch rigid tile saw. And we'll also cut open some medium ones and small ones later on in the show, so you can get an idea of what the differences are, what you're going to find, the different sizes. So here we go. I had to speed this up because the hardness of the agates really bogs down the saw. It can take a really long time to get one of these things cut. But there's our first one. And you're going to see this a lot in the bigger ones. They don't seem to be quite as symmetrically formed, but there's also a lot more variation just because there's more room. So we'll get going on the second one here. I also do sharpen the blade between each cutting using a dressing stone that I'll show later in the video. And there's the second one. You're going to see that's a lot better colored, a little bit more typical of what you're going to find out of a Condor agate. You'll see a lot of those reds, yellows, and oranges. Really pretty to look at. Not really patterned very well, but it's still very nice to look at. Moving on to the third one, you're going to start seeing the blade getting bogged down on these. It's just because of the size of the stones. But it's getting through slowly but surely. And as you can see, I'm wearing a mask too. Always a good idea. I don't care what your views are on COVID, but silicosis ain't no joke. So here you go, inside of the third one. Pretty clear. You can see there's some inclusions in there that I didn't quite get with the saw. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to approach that. Number 4, this is when it really starts to test the durability of the blade here. This one takes a really long time. You can see me kind of struggling with it a little bit. But persistence is key. Damn the machinery. I got a rock to cut in half. So, and also if any of you aren't familiar with how a tile saw works, don't worry about my hands being that close. The saw is more of an abrasive than a cutting blade. So there you go. That one looks a little bit nicer. You have some pretty well-defined banding lines in it. Starting to get a little bit better, but still you see it doesn't really go to the borders of the stone, and that happens a lot in the bigger ones. So here we go again. Another one that just seems to bog down once it gets about halfway through. But we will get it. Just keep after it. There you go. And again, you have some nice coloring, some nice banding, but there's just a lot of empty space. And like I said, you're going to get that in those bigger stones. So it really just depends on what you want. If you want size, or if you want a little bit more interesting pattern going on the inside. And this last one here has some pretty cool coloring and some nice swirling. I would hesitate to call that banding, but I guess it is. But that one will polish up pretty nice. Kind of a psychedelic look to it. So trippy. So anyways, I wanted to show you this. This is my dressing stone that I was talking about earlier in the video. I just run this through the blade a couple of times. Actually about closer to 5 to 7 times between each cutting. It helps to get a cleaner cut. So these are my smaller and medium-sized Condor agates, and I'm going to cut a couple of these to give you an example of the difference between what you can expect to get in the different sizes of these. So we're just going to pick a couple at random here. Yep, that looks good. Maybe get that little blue guy there. All right, let's swap out one more of these. What do you think? Get that red guy up there. Okay, that looks like a pretty good variety. So let's move on over to the trusty skill saw and cut those open. These always go pretty quick, but as you can see, I'm even using the dressing stone there just to make sure that the blade doesn't hang up. And you can also see that some of the stones, parts of them will chip off. That's not really part of the agate. It's just a compacted dirt that's kind of been attached to the agate over time. But rest assured, none of the pretty parts of the stone are breaking off. Almost done. All right, there we go. Let's do some show and tell now. First one, and as you can see, you know, there's not a whole lot of pattern going on there, but at least you have a lot of color and it goes all the way to the edge. It's a smaller stone though. I mean, that's probably only 1.5 inches wide. It just depends what you're looking for. Sizes and everything, guys. That's what she said. All right, well, the second one here, you can see it also has not a whole lot of color there, but there's some really good banding that goes all the way to the edge of the stone. Something you'll find in most of the smaller rocks. And finally, we got this guy. Really cool cut there. You can see the, I guess that's called the induction point, I believe, where the material would have leached into the void left in the volcanic rock whenever this thing was first being born. Pretty cool. So anyways, I hope this helped you guys, and happy buying.